My parents defended my sister after she hit my daughter and stole $13,200. I called the police. What followed in court ended our family forever. You know, they always say money can't buy happiness. But what no one tells you is it can sure expose everything that's been hiding beneath the surface. Hi, everyone. I'm Ethan. I'm 41, living in Chicago with my wife, Rachel, and our 16-year-old daughter, Emily. And what I'm about to tell you is a story I wish I could erase from my memory. It's a story of how my sister, my own flesh and blood, destroyed everything that used to mean family to me, all over $13,200. See, this isn't one of those stories about random greed or misunderstanding. It's a story about patterns, patterns of excuses, forgiveness, and the kind of loyalty that eventually eats you alive. 15 months ago, everything changed. One ordinary evening, my daughter came running downstairs, pale as a ghost. Her tiny safe, the one she'd saved money in for years, was gone. Gone, just like that. At the time, I had no idea that moment would be the start of something that would tear my entire family in half. I thought it was just a weird mystery, something we could figure out together. But as I later learned, when you spend your whole life defending someone, they learn exactly how to use that against you. And believe me, what happened next turned everything I believed about family upside down. Before I tell you about that night, you need to know something about my family, especially about my sister, Brittany. Brittany was the kind of person who could set a forest on fire and then act shocked when someone pointed out the smoke. Growing up, she always found a way to escape consequences, and my parents always found a way to clean up her mess. It started small. She'd take things she shouldn't, lie about it, and my parents would say, "She didn't mean it, Ethan. She just made a mistake." And back then, I believed them. I really did. But when you spend decades covering for someone, their mistakes get bigger and more dangerous. There was the time she crashed my new car into a light pole, and my parents begged me not to file an insurance claim because it would ruin her driving record. Or the time she borrowed my credit card for a birthday gift and somehow walked out with a $2,400 luxury purse. Each time I swallowed my anger and told myself, family is more important than money. Turns out I was wrong, because just a week before everything fell apart, Brittany made one of her boldest requests yet. She wanted me to lend her $35,000 for her wedding. I remember sitting in my parents' living room when she dropped that bombshell. She smiled like it was totally normal, saying, "It's my big day, Ethan. It has to be perfect." I nearly choked. $35,000 for a wedding? Then my father jumped in. "What kind of brother are you if you can't help your own sister?" And right there, I realized it wasn't just Brittany's entitlement that was the problem. It was our parents' belief that I existed to fix her life. Rachel, my wife, stayed calm but firm. She said gently, "Brittany, happiness doesn't come from hosting a wedding at a fancy hotel. It comes from the people around you." Brittany rolled her eyes. "Easy for you to say you already had your perfect wedding." That fight ended with Brittany storming out of the house, my parents glaring at me, and Rachel holding my hand in silence the whole drive home. We thought maybe things would just cool down, but deep down, I think we both felt it something was coming, and boy, we had no idea how bad it would get. You know those evenings that feel so normal you don't even realize your life's about to change? That's where this started. We just finished dinner. Rachel and I were downstairs, tossing around weekend plans nothing intends. Just the usual, maybe we try that new place on Halstead. Then we heard it fast footsteps on the stairs. Emily rushed in, face pale, hands shaking. "Dad, my safe is gone." Her voice cracked on that last word. Now, this isn't some giant vault. It's a small one, 3 by 9 by 9-inch safe I gave her years ago when she first got excited about saving. Birthdays, babysitting, a little side work she had built up $13,200. She was proud of it. It meant something. Rachel stayed calm like she always does. "Honey, did you check your room carefully? Could you have moved it?" Emily shook her head, tears already streaking down her face. "I tore the room apart, Mom. It was in my desk drawer last night." We sprinted upstairs as a unit. Her room looked like a storm had passed through. Bed pulled out, drawers open, Closet open wide, nothing, no safe, no sign of a break-in. Window locks were still latched. Laptop and iPad sitting right there. If a thief came in, they had tunnel vision, and that didn't make sense. I tried to be the reasonable dad. Hey, maybe you moved it and forgot. We'll look again tomorrow. But honestly, something inside me felt wrong, like a low hum of dread in the background. Then Emily said, Dad, Mom, Aunt Brittany came by this morning. It hit me like a punch in the gut. My sister's name isn't just a name anymore, it's a signal. Trouble nearby. I wanted to shut that thought off. Emily, are you saying you think your aunt took it? She hesitated, then gave the smallest nod. I shook my head. No, she's family. Those words came out of my mouth out of habit, honestly. For years, they were a shield. Rachel looked at me steady. We should check the cameras. Our front door cam is motion activated. At first, I didn't want to. Not because I doubted Emily, but because I didn't want to see what I already suspected. Rachel said quietly, Ethan, remember 4 days ago? That snapped the reel in my head back to my parents' living room, the $35,000 ask, the guilt trip, the storm out, years of me being the fixer, years of them telling me to let it go, years of Brittany breaking things and us sweeping. I exhaled. Okay, we'll check. We huddled on the couch, the three of us. I pulled up the app, scrolled back to the morning. There she was, 8:10 a.m., Brittany at the door, just her phone in hand. Emily opens it. They talk for a second, they go inside. The interior isn't covered by cams. We waited. 16 minutes later, 8:26, a small pink bag in her hand, big enough to fit Emily's safe. She leaves. No dramatic soundtrack, no arguing, just a timestamp, a picture, and the truth. Rachel's hand tightened around mine. Emily started crying quiet, heavy tears. My stomach turned, not because I didn't believe it, but because I finally had to. All the old incidents came back like ghosts. The birthday money that went missing after a visit. The watch Rachel lost during an overnight. Every time we told ourselves it was a coincidence. That keeping peace was better than making waves. That family means forgiveness. Forgiveness without accountability isn't love, it's permission. I turned to Emily and put my hands on her shoulders. I'm getting your money back. That's a promise. She needed to hear that. I needed to say it. I called Brittany. She answered like everything was normal. Hey, what's up? I asked where she was. At Mom and Dad's. Why? Let's talk wedding money, I said. We'll be there in 15. I hated the lie, but if I told her why we were coming, she'd vanish. We drove in silence. 12 miles, heavy air, no music, 3 people in the same car, each replaying the footage in our heads. When we pulled up, I could already feel the old family script waiting for us inside. And this time, we were going to break it. We stepped into my parents' living room, and it felt like stepping onto a stage. There they were, my parents on the couch, Brittany beside them, arms crossed, eyes already defensive. My mother stood up first. Ethan, what's wrong? No small talk, no warm-up. Brittany, I said, why did you come to my house this morning? She blinked fast. I stopped by to see Emily. Emily took a step forward. Brave kid. Aunt Brittany, please give me my safe back. And the money. Her voice shook, but she didn't back down. Brittany shot up, all heat. Are you accusing me? She moved toward Emily, and everything in me snapped to attention. Enough, I said. We have the footage. I turned my phone so everyone could see 8:10 a.m., Brittany arriving with nothing in her hands. Then 8:26 a.m., Brittany leaving with a small pink bag. You could feel it ripple through the room, reality hitting a wall of denial. My dad leaned forward, squinting. My mom's mouth fell open. Brittany's face hardened. She stared at the screen like if she glared hard enough it would change. Then she did something I still can't forgive. She turned and slapped my daughter. A sharp, ugly crack across the room. Time slowed. Emily's head turned with a hit. Her hand flew to her cheek. Her eyes flooded. I moved fast, grabbed Brittany's wrist and pulled her back. How dare you hit my daughter? She smirked. Go ahead, hit me. Be the tough guy who hits women. That baiting, taunting tone like she was daring me to become the villain. Rachel stepped in between us, calm, precise, terrifying. If a woman needs to be handled, a woman will handle it. And before anyone could react, she slapped Brittany back. Once, then again. Not while controlled. You stole from my child and hit her, she said, voice low and steady. Never again. Chaos followed. My father yelled. My mother cried. Emily froze in the corner. Brittany stumbled, shocked, hair a mess, face red with rage and humiliation. She hissed, I'm calling the police. Rachel held up her phone. Do it, and call CPS while you're at it. Let's see who walks out of here in handcuffs. She wasn't bluffing. She was done playing the family game. My dad's voice boomed. Enough. The room went still. He looked around like a judge about to deliver a sentence. We are family. This is not how we handle problems. I stared back at him. Dad, your daughter stole $13,200 from your granddaughter. It's on video. Brittany shouted, It's a setup. You're framing me. The desperation bled through. And then my father. My father turned his anger toward Rachel. How dare you strike my daughter in my house? What kind of woman are you? Rachel didn't blink. The kind who protects her child when a grown woman slaps her across the face. My mother shook her head, holding Brittany like a wounded hero. Ethan, control your wife. I couldn't keep it in anymore. What about your daughter who just hit a 16-year-old? What about the theft? My dad glared at me. If you can't discipline your kid, then your sister will. That line cut deeper than anything else that night. It told me everything I needed to know about where we stood. Something inside me went silent. Not angry, not loud, just done. I pulled out my phone. 911, I said clearly when the operator answered. I need to report a theft and an assault. My sister hit my daughter, and my daughter's $13,200 was stolen. We have security footage. We need officers at my parents' address. The room fell quiet except for my voice and the operator's questions. Names, ages, what happened? Was anyone armed? Was anyone injured? I answered calmly, step by step. When I hung up, my mother's eyes were wet. Ethan, please don't do this. She's your sister. I looked at Emily, still holding her cheek, trying to be brave, then at Rachel, standing tall, breathing steady, ready to absorb whatever came next, and I looked back at my parents. She's my daughter. Brittany stared at the floor, jaw clenched, hands shaking. For a second, a single second, I thought she might apologize, admit it, hand over the safe. But the moment passed, pride dug in its heels. Sirens grew faint in the distance. My dad muttered, You'll regret this. Maybe. But regret cuts both ways. Here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. Love without boundaries will destroy you. I had spent my whole life trying to be a good son, a good brother, the peacemaker. But peace without honesty is just a quiet lie. And that night, the lie finally died. When the knock came at the door, everyone flinched. This wasn't a family meeting anymore. This was evidence, statements, consequences. And for the first time in a long time, I felt something like clarity, because sometimes choosing a child means losing a parent. Sometimes protecting what's right means breaking what's left. And sometimes $13,200 isn't just money, it's the line you should have drawn years ago. There's a moment right before a fight where the air changes. It gets heavy, like the room itself knows what's about to happen. That's exactly how it felt in my parents' living room. We weren't a family having a discussion anymore. We were a storm waiting to break. He kept me voice steady. Brittany, you walked into my house this morning with nothing in your hands. You left 16 minutes later with a pink bag big enough to fit Emily's safe. Give it back. She scoffed, chin up like a challenge. You think I need your kid's little piggy bank? Emily's voice was tiny but brave. Aunt Brittany, please. That please did something to me. Rachel reached for Emily's hand. You don't have to beg for what's yours, she whispered. Brittany's eyes flicked to Rachel, that old, familiar resentment surfacing. Of course you'd teach her that. Little Miss Perfect. The room tightened another notch. My mother stepped forward as if to referee. Let's calm down. We can figure this out. We already did, I said, holding up the phone again. The footage is clear. My father stared at the screen, not saying a word. His jaw clenched so hard you could see the muscle twitch. Brittany folded her arms. So you're all teaming up now? Great. I took a breath. Brittany, enough. Give Emily her money and safe and we can go home. For a second I swear she almost cracked. Then pride took over. She turned to Emily and spit out, "Stop lying." Emily said, "I'm not lying." And that's when Brittany snapped. She stepped forward and slapped my kid across the face so fast, so hard, it didn't compute until the sound hit. Emily stumbled, more shocked than hurt. The red mark rose on her cheek like a flag. I grabbed Brittany's wrist and pushed her back. "Touch my daughter again and we're done. Do you understand me?" She sneered. "Oh, big man, what are you going to do? Hit me." She leaned in like she wanted me to take the bait. Rachel slid between us, voice low and cold. "He won't touch you, but I'm not him." And then she slapped Brittany once, clean. "That's for hitting my child." Brittany lurched forward, and Rachel slapped her again, sharper this time. "That's for stealing from her." Everything broke at once. My father roared. My mother cried. Brittany swung back wildly, but Rachel had already stepped aside. Emily froze, breathing fast, eyes huge. I put an arm around her and pulled her close. "You're okay," I whispered, even though nothing was okay. Brittany's hair was a mess, her face flushed, eyes burning. "I'm calling the cops. Assault. You're going to jail." Rachel pulled out her phone without flinching. "Call them. And while we're at it, let's talk about theft and assaulting a minor." The word minor landed heavy. "Enough," my father thundered, voice shaking the room. For a split second we were kids again, caught doing something wrong. He pointed at Rachel. "How dare you strike my daughter in my home?" Rachel stood her ground. "Your daughter slapped a 16-year-old girl, your granddaughter." My mother looked at me like I was a stranger. "Ethan, control your wife." Something inside me hardened. "Control your daughter," I shot back. "She stole from mine." My dad's eyes went cold. "If you can't discipline your kid, your sister will." That line hit like a hammer. That's when I knew. We weren't on the same side anymore, and maybe we hadn't been for a long time. I pulled my phone out. "This stops now." Brittany muttered, "Go ahead, see what happens." But there was a tremor in her voice. For the first time tonight, she looked unsure. Good. Consequences tend to do that. The room simmered. No one, Saturday. No one blinked. It was all breathing and anger and history. I could feel the weight of every time I'd said yes when I should have said no. Every time I'd kept the peace by pretending nothing happened. Peace is easy when the truth is silent. But that kind of peace rots the floorboards. I turned to Emily. "You're safe," I told her. "We're going to make this right." She nodded, swallowing hard, standing straighter than I've ever seen her stand. Rachel squeezed her hand. That small chain mother to daughter felt like the only honest thing in the room. Brittany stared at me, waiting for me to flinch. I didn't. "Give her the safe," I said again, steady. "And the money." Silence. Pride battled fear behind her eyes. Then she smiled, small and mean. "Prove it." "We already did," I said. "And now it's going to be official." The siren was faint, but it was coming. And with it, the end of the family we used to be. At the door, time stretched thin. This wasn't just about $13,200. It was about the story our family told itself: who gets protected, who gets punished, who gets believed. Tonight, that story was over. My father folded his arms. "You'll regret involving outsiders." I met his eyes. "We became outsiders the moment you chose denial over your granddaughter." He looked away first. It didn't feel like a victory. It felt like a funeral. The knock came, 3 slow, heavy knocks, and everything changed. The officer stepped in, calm and methodical, the way people are when they do this every day. Names first, then what happened, who touched whom, who saw what. They separated us. One spoke to Rachel and Emily, one spoke to me, and another asked Brittany and my parents for their side. The house sounded different with their radios crackling. Colder, real. I showed the footage, the timestamps, explained the safe, the amount inside, the history. I kept my voice level, kept my hands still. This wasn't the time to bleed, it was the time to build a case. The officer nodded, watched the screen twice, asked follow-up questions. Any interior cameras? No. Any sign of forced entry? No. Value of the contents? 13,200. Saying it out loud made my throat tight. Another officer took Emily's statement. She spoke softly but clearly, describing the slap. Rachel's voice was steady when she confirmed it, added context, didn't embellish. She didn't need to. The mark on Emily's cheek was doing all the talking anyone needed. Brittany was loud at first, denials, accusations, the whole performance. But the more she talked, the more it sounded like noise standing next to facts. When the officers asked about the pink bag, she said it was makeup. When they asked to see it, she said she didn't have it anymore. When they asked where it was, she said she forgot. Holes everywhere. My parents hovered around her like bodyguards, throwing out words like family disagreement and misunderstanding. The officers didn't roll their eyes, but the air shifted. They've seen this before. A lot. Finally, one officer said, "We have enough to file a theft report and an assault report. Given the victim is a minor, this is serious." He asked Emily if she wanted medical attention. She shook her head. "Brave kid," the officer nodded. "We'll document the injury in photos." Rachel thanked him for being respectful. He nodded like it was nothing. It wasn't nothing. They asked Brittany if she would consent to a search of her car and room at my parents' house. She refused. That didn't help her. At all. The officer wrote it down. "You're free to refuse," he said, "but be aware. A warrant can be obtained if a judge believes there's probable cause." Brittany crossed her arms tighter. Then came the question that split the night in half. "Do you want to press charges?" He looked at me, then at Rachel, then at Emily. I looked at my daughter, cheek flushed, eyes determined. "Emily," I said softly, "this is your call too." She took a breath. "Yes." One word, clear as a bell. Rachel nodded. I turned back to the officer. "Yes, for theft and assault." My mother broke. "Ethan, please, she's your sister." I didn't raise my voice. "And Emily is my daughter." That was the entire argument. Nothing else mattered. The officers documented everything, gave us a case number, explained the next steps, warrants, recovery attempts, potential court dates, no contact instructions. It was clinical, but the finality of it seeped into the walls. The house felt smaller, like it couldn't hold us anymore. As they wrapped up, one officer turned to me. "We'll be in touch. If she contacts your daughter, let us know immediately." I nodded. "We're changing locks and codes tonight." He said that was a good idea. Of course it was. This wasn't paranoia anymore. It was policy. When the officers stepped outside, the hallway felt like a border crossing. Rachel and Emily walked out first. I followed. Behind us, my parents stayed with Brittany. No one said goodbye. No one asked us to stay. The silence was its own verdict. At the car, Emily slid into the back seat and finally let herself cry. Not loud, not messy, just quiet, shaking breaths. Rachel got in beside her and held her. I stood outside for a second longer, staring at the house I grew up in. It didn't feel like home. It felt like a story I'd outgrown. Here's the part people don't talk about. Doing the right thing doesn't feel heroic. It feels heavy. You don't walk away feeling proud. You walk away feeling empty and steady at the same time, like you put down a boulder and picked up a compass. I got in the driver's seat and started the engine. We didn't talk on the way home. We didn't have to. The line was drawn, and this time it wasn't moving. Driving home that night felt like crossing an invisible border, old life on one side, new reality on the other. No music, no small talk, just the sound of tires on the road and three people breathing through the shock. Back at the house, Rachel guided Emily to the couch and pressed the cold pack gently to her cheek. "You did everything right," she said. Emily nodded, eyes red but steady. That kid, she showed more courage in one night than most adults do in a decade. I changed the door codes, reset the garage keypad, checked the window locks even though I knew they were already fine. Call it ritual, call it a dad thing. Sometimes protection is just doing the ordinary things like they matter, because they do. We saved the footage to multiple drives, sent copies to the case email, wrote everything down while it was fresh times, words, details. Not because we wanted to relive it, but because clarity is power when emotions try to blur the edges. Rachel and I stood in the kitchen after Emily went to bed. The house was quiet in that post storm way. Did we do the right thing? I asked. She didn't hesitate. We did the necessary thing. Sometimes those two aren't the same. But that night, they were. The next week was paperwork and silence. A detective called. A warrant was discussed. There were follow ups, evidence logs, instructions not to engage. My parents didn't call. Brittany didn't either. There were no apologies, just avoidance dressed up as peace. Emily checked her bank app more than usual, like a habit her hands hadn't unlearned yet. We opened a proper account together. She smiled a little, setting up the new debit card. Feels more grown up anyway, she said. That small bit of light mattered. A few nights later, I sat with Rachel on the couch and said the thing I'd been circling: I can't fix them. She leaned her head on my shoulder. You're not supposed to. You're supposed to protect us. It was so simple, it almost hurt. Grief isn't always about death. Sometimes it's about accepting the family you wanted isn't the family you have, and choosing to stop bleeding for people who cut you. If you're listening to this wondering what you do, here's what I learned. Love needs boundaries, trust needs proof, and forgiveness needs change. Without those, you're not a family, you're a cover story. That night, before bed, I checked on Emily. She was asleep, cheek healing, breath even. I closed the door gently and finally let myself exhale. Not relieved, not triumphant. Yours clear. And sometimes clarity is the beginning of healing. If you've made it this far, here's the takeaway. Sometimes doing what's right doesn't feel good, it just feels right. And in a world where people confuse silence with loyalty, choosing the truth will make you the villain in someone else's story. Choose it anyway. To anyone dealing with a Brittany in their life, set the boundary now, not later. Protect your peace, protect your kids, and don't mistake history for obligation. You can love people and still refuse to fund their chaos. Both things can be true. As for us, Emily's rebuilding, one deposit at a time. Rachel's still the steady anchor she's always been. And me? I'm done trying to be the family banker, the fixer, the guy who absorbs the blast. From now on, I'm the dad who draws the line. Thanks for listening. If this story helped you, share it with someone who needs the courage to say enough. And if you're navigating something like this, you're not alone. Just remember, peace built on lies isn't peace. It's a ticking clock. Don't wait for it to explode.